going on, everyone? I'm Jaren, and today we are talking about Over Your Dead Body. This story follows a dysfunctional married couple who retreats to a secluded cabin for the weekend in order to repair their relationship, but each secretly plots to murder one another. So like a little over a week ago, there was an early access screening for this movie, which I unfortunately did not attend because I had some family affairs. But then this ended up becoming one of the two mystery movies that showed up on Monday. And there was a Choose Your Fate edition where there was two completely brand new movies, did not know what they were. And you get to choose either the 7 o'clock show or the 9:50 show, or heck, even do a double feature. But I ended up going to the 7 o'clock and this movie was it. So lucky me. And it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago that I discovered that this was actually a remake of the original Norwegian film that came out about 5 years ago. And I'm not gonna even try to butcher its title by pronouncing it. So in translation, it's called The Trip. And that one, it starred Noomi Rapace, and that made me very curious as to wanting to check it out on Netflix. But I didn't want to kind of come into this new movie with pre-notions and pre-expectations. So I wanted to go in as blind as possible. When I first saw the trailer, I was a little taken off guard by the amount of creatives that were behind this project. I mean, first, you got the producers and the writers of the original Norwegian film, as well as David Leitch and his stunt company, who have done like the John Wick movies, Nobody, Atomic Blonde, Hobbs and Shaw, and even Deadpool 2. You also got the producers of the Raid movies involved, as well as Karen Gillan, the star of the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, as well as the upcoming Jumanji sequel, as co-producer. And last but not least, leading the charge in the director's chair is the member/lyricist from The Lonely Island, as well as the writer and director of pop star Never Stop Never Stopping, Jorma Taccone. I hope I said your name right, brother. Well, the team up of these creatives told me two things to look forward to. Number one, the movie was going to be funny, whether it's dark humor, over the top, and physical comedy, or low-hanging fruit. Number two, the violence was really going to hurt. And I can imagine that the stunts were going to be brutal, bloody, wild, practical, and shockingly effective. After seeing the movie for myself, I can honestly compare this to The War of the Roses meets The Last House on the Left. And I had an absolute fucking blast. I was actually surprised with the amount of people that showed up to Monday Mystery Movie, and it just felt like my entire auditorium transformed into a WWE event. It was so lively and responsive, and it was just followed up with a lot of the crowd going, "Holy shit!" and just howling with laughter right after. Starting out with the positives, now without a shadow of a doubt, I thought this movie's biggest handicap was going to be the casting and pairing of Jason Segel and Samara Weaving. Now, Weaving, she is no surprise, she's kind of been on a roll lately, especially with these subgenres that involve action, comedy, horror, and thriller, and for a story like this, she fit perfectly right in. Segel, on the other hand, he's the guy you cast in comedies, dramas, romance, or musicals, and it was rather odd to me that he was taking on a leading role in anything adjacent to an action, horror, or thriller. And I'm so glad that I'm wrong, because not only do Segel and Weaving give career best performances, but they work so well together, whether it's the banter, the chemistry, or just straight up beating the living shit out of one another. When it comes to Jason Segel, I'm a big fan of How I Met Your Mother, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, I Love You Man, and Our Friend. So I'm so used to seeing him as this big giant teddy bear with a vulnerable side to him. And surprisingly enough, I didn't expect to spite him as much as I did in the first half of this movie. His character Dan just racks up so much of that man-child mentality and narcissistic energy up to 11. It was his demeanor, his behavior, his tone, and the shit he would say that really got on my nerves. And I definitely related to the pain that he was feeling. But his actions brought me back some real memories of some assholes that I used to know. This is probably the most physically demanding role that I've seen Segel do, so I commend him for some of the scrapes and bruises that he sustained while doing some of his own stunts. Having recently seen Ready or Not, Here I Come, I am all on board for the era of Samara Weaving, just kicking ass and screaming her lungs out. Weaving gets to play Lisa, Dan's wife, and I really admire that she got to use her real Aussie accent here because a lot of the tonal needle drops as well as the sharp one-line deliveries slapped a really big smile across my face. I even like the little comment that Dan makes about her accent where he goes like, "It's British mixed with the devil." It is no surprise that she has mastered enduring pain the same way that she inflicts them, so instead of walking away like a superhero, you genuinely care about her well-being here. What the character of Lisa does so well, and this also goes for Dan, is that they are capable of being likable and unlikable in one fell swoop. Like, they make valid points in their arguments and you can totally get behind it, but at the same time you're cringing and also criticizing them all at the same time. Timothy Olyphant and Juliette Lewis also show up in this movie. I kind of wish they kept them from the marketing, but they too play an odd couple named Pete and Allegra. And what I like about their relationship and the dynamic is that they're able to go on this whole roller coaster ride and also work against just the doomed marriage of Dan and Lisa and just how that sort of unravels and tangles together. I love the countless movie references that are just bombarded into many of the conversations and arguments, especially towards the second act. I felt so alone because I found myself laughing at a lot of the very minuscule references to Harry Potter. And also, there is an exchange that happens between Oliphant and Siegel about the film industry that felt completely ripped out of the page with another thriller that was also starring Timothy Olyphant, 2009's A Perfect Getaway. I also really enjoyed the editing. There was a lot of these sharp cuts to brief and contextualized flashbacks that really added some humor to the final execution. And also what I really enjoyed about the movie as a whole was how they didn't really hold back on their punches and they really just went for the throat. In other words, using little CGI and more practical effects, the violence was shockingly brutal and grotesque, and in some moments, knocked the wind out of me. And there's also this one sequence in the basement that really started off as something that made me uncomfortably laugh, and as that sequence draws out like a little longer than expected, I really just threw my hands over my mouth and I tensed my butthole. I cannot give you the context as to why that is. I think my only gripe about this movie, and this might just be a nitpick, but there were moments where a lot of the action and confrontation just really cornered itself into multiple and awkward pauses. In other words, there were sequences where someone had the rifle, someone had the other one dead to rights, and they suddenly decide not to pull the trigger. It's forgivable for the first few times where the character's mentality changes once they get a hold of the gun and they want to maintain the situation instead of making a mess. And you're also trying not to, I guess, step on your own toes as a writer when you find yourself that you're about to end the movie here and it's going to be a short one if you're just gonna end it there. But in this case, it happens just a little bit too many times where it really just stunted a lot of the genuine tension. And I was just silently screaming at the screen, just shoot the motherfucker already. Overall, impeccable comedic timing for all of the performances, as well as the set pieces accelerating for both the adrenaline junkies and the gore hounds. I'm still curious to see the original movie. Maybe it's just as good, maybe it's even better. I could honestly just watch that one sequence where Siegel and Weaving are just bickering back and forth one another across the dining room table all day long, especially if it were written as a play. This is an entertaining, fun, and fucked up couples therapy session that is best served at the theater. Well, alright guys, that's all I got to share about that movie. Go ahead and check it out for yourselves. I'm Jaren Agbanawag, and I want to thank you guys again for taking some time out of your day to hear me talk some movies. Look forward to more reviews, and I'll see you guys at the theater. Take care.